Welcome back to another episode of the Apex F1 podcast. Once again, we are here on an off week. We've had a good little break from racing, but we are gearing up for what is going to be one of the most exciting weekends of racing on the calendar for the year. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here once again by my co-host. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Meredith, start with you.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in, and thank y'all for all the love and support as we jumped into the YouTube channel last week. So happy to be back on camera again and happy to be engaging with you guys in a different way. Paul, over to you.
Hey everybody, it's Paul. Hope everybody's having a great week. And yeah, just like Josh said, this is going to be a great week in motorsports, and I can't wait to talk all about it.
Yeah, we've got a great day lined up for you guys. Once again, we're back here on YouTube, as well as all the other platforms that we were enjoying in the past, but it's nice to be back on video. Once again, if you guys haven't had a chance, check out the first one and kind of go through the whole growing pains with us as we figure out the video platform. But hope you guys are enjoying the social media stuff we've got going on. We've had a little bit more success now that we've been able to get some content from video on there for y'all. So just give us some suggestions. I've enjoyed kind of speaking to some people on DM and some people and interacting with you guys. So just send us some suggestions on what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to see, and we'll try to make it happen. But we've got a really great weekend in racing. Quite a few different categories. If whatever tickles your fancy, it's there for you. It's the biggest weekend for endurance, I would say, on the calendar. It's the most prestigious, one of the most prestigious races in the world, and we got it this weekend. Other than that, we got Formula One's going to be right back at it with another great race in Canada, which is typically, and has been for a while, one of the better races on the calendar. It's a driver's favorite. It's got a lot of action, and with always the promise of rain, you never really know what's going to happen.
I was so excited to see the forecast, and I was like, well, we definitely got rain on Saturday this weekend in Montreal. So I was like, looks clear for Sunday, but like you said with Canada, it could always change. But I was pumped to see rain in the forecast.
Yeah, it's always my favorite one to drive on the sim racing. It's a very fast race. It's going to be a great weekend for sure. And Le Mans, I mean, just so much history behind that circuit. I mean, it's one of those that if anyone in motorsports would love to attend, and anyone who's a driver would love to be a part of it. It's just so awesome, and it's been fun. I mean, it's been fun to learn more about it and trying to see what's going on. I've really tried to get into it in the last few years. It can get a little overwhelming with the amount of drivers, and there's 3 different categories within one race, so it's just take it piece by piece, and it's going to be a lot of fun to learn and watch it.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely taken small chunks out of it, and instead of trying to just watch the whole thing, just trying to really pick out a couple drivers or a couple teams that I can really focus on and get behind, and that kind of breaks it down a little bit so it's a little more digestible, so I don't have to necessarily sit there and be overwhelmed by a million cars on track and 1,000 drivers trying to all drive them.
Impossible.
You never know what's going on. So you got to really break it down.
Yeah, because a couple years I dove right into it and I just turned it on and I was like, dude, I have no idea what the hell is going on right now. There's random cars. I don't know who's in the lead. It was overwhelming.
I think I was talking with some of my other racing friends, and I was saying I think that's one of the things I like so much about endurance racing, because I like feeling like I know so little. Like, I just have so much more to learn, and I think I really enjoy that. Like Formula One's been my bread and butter, and I know it really, really well. So while watching it is really exciting, I feel like sometimes when I'm watching Formula One, sometimes I forget the joy of the experience of like being a new fan to it, right? Whereas I feel like with endurance racing, I've been watching it a few years now, but I am so far behind still. I know so little about it still. And like driver lineups have to change sometimes. Like they announced yesterday that the Iron Dames has a lineup driver change because of an injury during testing day. So it's like things are changing constantly. There's not set stints for those drivers. I love it. I'm super excited about it. I know we're going to get into it, but I think I like endurance racing so much, especially the 24 hours of Le Mans, because I know so little, and I'm like, it's just like an open learning experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll just get it.
I was going to say, Josh, we did engage with the fans. Thank you to those who gave us some feedback on our Instagram post about like some of the stuff you wanted to hear. So like you guys are helping us craft kind of what we do as the agenda for the episodes today. What Josh has in store for us today is based on your feedback. So thank you. Continue to provide us feedback. It was funny. We had a moment where Josh responded to some messages on social media. I got a text from a friend that was like, Meredith, I just assumed it was you running just the socials, and I was not anticipating a message back from Josh. So it's really cool to just be engaging with fans and listeners in a different way. So thank you all for that. And Josh has a great episode in store for us today.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said in the group chat earlier, I've really enjoyed kind of speaking with fans and talking to them over DM and everything else. And I think that's hopefully going to grow and become more so part of this. And as far as interactions and getting to know people and kind of getting some feedback on what we can do better, and also just kind of interacting with other fans and seeing what you guys enjoy about just motorsport in general or Formula One. So it's been a really nice part of this that I didn't necessarily expect going into it. So thank you guys for reaching out. I hope you guys continue to do so. But first off, we're going to go ahead and just knock out these updates on the Formula One side. Have you guys seen any rumors or any news stories that you want to kick off and talk about before we get into Canada?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one right now, and Meredith and I were talking about it while you were trying to get your stuff figured out, who's going to drive for Aston Martin? I mean, is
do we know if Lance coming back? Is Lance coming back? Is he not? We don't even know if that's
they
part
have
of
an
this.
immediate decision this weekend, and with his wrist, he can't drive this weekend. And so,
is he having surgery? Is he not having surgery? And also, does the reserve driver hop in? Because does he drive in Le Mans this weekend, or does he go to Formula One this weekend? I mean, it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
I think Meredith and I both decided that if we were in the situation, we'd drive in Formula One this weekend, because Le Mans is always going to be there, but you don't know when another chance of Formula One is going to be.
Right, and if you're a driver of that level, we were speaking of Drugovich, obviously he's the reserve driver for Aston Martin. He would be the number one first choice for Aston Martin to pick for a replacement for Lance Stroll. For those that don't know, Lance Stroll was not racing last weekend after qualifying, after injuring his wrist. He injured it in the offseason, but it had been an ongoing injury, and they decided to keep him sidelined while he underwent some more treatment. We're not sure if he had surgery or if he was just rehabbing or what the case may be. But with this being his home race, expectations were high that he would return, but now it's not looking so good. But we don't know for sure. Getting back to old Drugovich, yes, I think that a driver of his caliber is always going to be able to get into Le Mans. He's always going to have the opportunity to race at a car in that category, in WIC or any endurance category. That tends to fit his mold. So, like that being said, with 20 spots in Formula One, you've got to take one when you can. And especially with the rumors that he may be considered for Cadillac in 26, if he's on the options list for them, a good showing here in Canada, if this is his one chance to get out there and try to make an impression, if this is his opportunity, he has to take the opportunity when it's presented to him. I think he takes the Formula One spot if it is offered. Only time will tell. Hopefully we'll know a little bit closer to the weekend. It's still a little early. It is only Monday. But I do think that if Lance is unable to race, I do think Drugovich is going to be in the car.
So let's say wild case scenario, Felipe says, no, I'm driving Le Mans. I'm already in France. I'm already in Europe. I'm already set. I'm signed. The team is set. I've already done testing, yada, yada, yada. Do we think that maybe some of the social media rumors about Bottas potentially driving would be
absolutely
real? And if so, absolutely iconic that he's going to have to serve that 5-place grid penalty.
Yes, I think that Bottas is the next choice of being basically the reserve driver for Mercedes, and since Aston Martin is a Mercedes customer team, he would definitely be the next up there since he's got experience with the power unit. Paul, you can just get triggered over there with the word power unit. Mercedes power unit.
I still hate you guys.
I had to throw that one in there. It was an opportunity. I'm a opportunistic person, so I'll just take it when I can. With Mercedes being the supplier for Aston Martin's engine, I do think that's the next option, is to put their reserve driver in there. He's already had experience with McLaren in their car in that reserve role, kind of getting a feel for that team as well. So he would be the next obvious choice unless they decide for some reason to throw a whole loop in it and bring up someone else that is on that fringe list. So could be one of the bigger storylines going into the weekend.
I'm excited. I would love to see Felipe Drugovich drive an F1 car. I really think he has a lot of potential, and I think it would be a great opportunity for him to show that off, especially if, I think, we talked about it a little bit last week about, is this the soft launch of Lance Stroll, making his way out of Formula One? What a great opportunity for Felipe to show, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm excited, I'm capable. I think it would be great, but do I also love seeing Valtteri Bottas in a car on a team? Absolutely, with every fiber of my being. So if it was either one of them, I'm happy. I'm excited. I am full on rooting for them this weekend.
Can I just ask this?
Yes.
I don't like Lance Stroll as much as anyone. I can't stand the kid. I think the kid
We know
freaking
you
sucks.
hate Lance Stroll in Monaco.
But does he at least deserve a little better send off than this? If this is truly how he's going to go out, think about it this way.
To an extent, I mean, yeah.
Aston has nothing to race for. They're not doing anything productive. Can we at least give the kid the rest of the year to say farewell and that before we just, you are the weakest link, goodbye type of thing?
I think there's two parts to that. One, does he want that? Does Lance, he's not a very social person. He's not featured in much of their social media. He doesn't have his own social media that's, very much out there. He tends to be a more private person. He doesn't strike me as somebody who really wants the victory lap. That maybe somebody like Lewis or in the future Charles, Lando, someone like that may kind of receive like a victory lap like that a little better. Not necessarily Lance Stroll. I think he'd kind of rather fade off into the distance and go hang out on a yacht instead of being the centerpiece of quite a few events and everything else. But at the same time, he is the most experienced Canadian Formula One driver of all time now.
And
he has been, no, it is saying a lot. I mean, there's several Canadian drivers that have been championship winners that have been prominent in the sport. I mean, we're going to a track that's named after one of them.
Would he have remained in that seat as long as he did with the performance he did if his dad did not own the team?
Absolutely
God, no.
not.
Absolutely
not.
And
but he's still going to be on there.
A couple episodes, Josh, a couple episodes ago, I was talking about like my heartbreak of Danny Rick, right? And like the send off that he got and how like emotionally, like I was distraught, right? And one thing that I thought about that Josh brought up after was saying, yes, it was really sad to see Daniel leave the sport. A lot of people were bummed about that, but he didn't get the send off with the fireworks or anything like that. Like he didn't go win championships or things like that, like they do for the Vettels or what they'll do for Hamilton when he decides to retire. So I think to me, it is a balance. I don't think that Lance will come back at some point this season. I think this was the soft launch of maybe that happening at the end of the season. But I think if things go okay with his wrist and rehabilitates, I do foresee him coming back and finishing the season at some point. If he decided not to and said, you know what, no, never mind, and that's what he told his dad, I think he would be fine with that. But I think as long as his wrist is okay, I could see him coming back to finish the season.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out and what Daddy Stroll decides to do with that team.
Yeah, and I think he's under quite a bit more pressure now with the Honda for next year. I think he's, that's going to be a huge influence on that team going forwards. I think he's under influence from the investors who now see kind of the writing on the wall. Like we've got the pieces in place, right? We've got some of the best facilities in Formula One. We've got a brand new wind tunnel, all these great engineering options. We've got Adrian Newey. We've got some of these other big names from the sport in, the behind the scenes working on the cars. Is it time that we have to look towards replacing your son? And I think that, we're getting to the point where if Aston Martin wants to be a legitimate team and make a push for podiums and be a title contender, I think that was always going to be a conversation that we saw coming. And if this is the case, if that's what it is now, then it is what it is.
Absolutely.
So I definitely think that's going to be one of the biggest talking points going forwards for this weekend. And if Lance does not return this weekend, it will be a talking point every week until we know something a little bit more confirmed about his future. But other than that, I mean, we've seen some rumors about these Cadillac drivers. What do you has your guys' predictions for the Cadillac drivers changed at all over the last several weeks with all these rumors swirling?
No, I mean, I still think Checo gets that seat.
I agree. I think I still think I'm on board with Checo, but I think I'm leaning more and more towards Checo Schumacher because I think I'm trying to think of it logically, and it's like Checo makes sense in every element of it. Checo makes sense, done. He checks every single box. He's a very accomplished, very veteran driver, but then I think it's too risky for a brand new team to put a rookie in that seat. So they need another guy that's younger in his career, has a lot of life ahead of him, has showed that he can be accomplished in it. I mean, I feel like Mick Schumacher didn't really get the chance that he deserved when he was in Formula One, but he is doing incredible in WEC and doing incredible in endurance racing and winning races and has consistently delivered. So I really think what he's done with the Alpine Endurance team has been wonderful, and I think it would be a really wise move to say, hey, he's a little bit more mature in his driving career now. We've seen what he's been able to accomplish consistently in another setting. Let's look at that as being the younger driver lineup that we bring in. That's somebody that's open, coachable, and that Checo could mentor. So I'm leaning now. I think earlier on I was leaning towards Checo and like an IndyCar driver like a Pato or a Colton Herta. And now I'm really leaning towards like a Checo Schumacher lineup. And I would get behind that 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
definitely seen it.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was going to say, I think we all really expected an IndyCar driver alongside Checo. I think that was kind of the assumption going forwards, at least in the early part of the season. But unfortunately, it doesn't really seem like any of the IndyCar drivers have really stuck out enough this season to maybe warrant that opportunity.
And I don't know if anybody's even. I don't even know if anyone's even having contract talks with Cadillac. Because I know
Right, it's not come up.
At first, it was Pato was the big name. Pato this, Pato that. Even he came out during India weekend and said, "I haven't talked to anybody." So
Right.
it kind of seems like as of now, Cadillac's not interested in an Indy driver. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Meredith, I do agree with you that I don't think that Cadillac would like to risk a rookie just off the rep, right? I think they want to come in and make a statement and be, somewhat competitive in their first season. And I think, maybe in the future, if they were looking for a rookie, I think IndyCar would be a great place to pull one and try to say like, oh, IndyCar, try to do two birds, one stone, try to promote IndyCar by saying, there are some really good drivers that could perform at the highest level in the sport, but also, that translates to Formula One. Kind of the onset is like, do you just pick two veteran guys that know what's going on, that you don't have to worry about them as much? I
Like,
definitely
you're gonna have to overhaul, like, how do you build a, how do you build your roster behind that, right? Like, hey, we came in as a new team and we're gonna have 2 seasoned drivers, because like, if so, I could totally see it. If they're gonna go that route and go 2 veteran, I could see it being Checo and Bottas. And my God, that'd be so much fun. I feel like they would be iconic together. But I feel like it would be a lot harder to recruit people in. I mean, unless they have like one of those crazy wild, like Braun situations where it's like you come in and on your first season, you win a championship, I don't foresee that happening with Cadillac. I'd love to see it happen in a lifetime, but I don't foresee that. So to me, the most logical thing is investing in an accomplished seasoned driver and an accomplished younger driver that they know knows how to drive one of these cars and that would be in it for the long haul. And what a legacy with Schumacher, right? Like, imagine if that goes well, it's a pretty marketable story.
Do you just see Schumacher staying with the Alpine family and just going for Alpine next year?
Not unless Alpine gets it together.
No.
At the beginning of the season, I was really excited about them. It seemed like they found something. Pierre was delivering consistently, and I was like, yes. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah, a complete disaster now. Yeah, I think if Alpine had have really stuck it out, and maybe Ollie Oaks could, whatever happened with him, but if he could have stuck around and really put into motion whatever his plans were, and they were successful, as we did see at the end of the last year, if he had continued to be successful, I could have seen a world that that Mick would have wanted to stay and kind of race in that ecosystem. But I don't know why anyone would want to go race over there right now. It's a revolving door of principles. It's a revolving door of who's actually in charge, and no one knows who really is in charge. Is it the French side? Is the English side? Is the team principal really there, or is he just kind of doing the bidding of the powers that be? So is Flav just running the whole thing? Yeah, it's terrible. So I don't necessarily think that anybody would really sit there and choose to race at Alpine unless they had no other option at this point.
Yeah. I know. The rumor this week is that Checo's been having contract talks with 2 teams, being Cadillac and Alpine. And unless Alpine is putting a great future out there for him, I really hope he goes Cadillac, because I think he'll have more success there than Alpine. But at the end of the day, money talks, and who knows who could put out the better vision for him.
Yeah, I don't know. But I saw the same thing with the rumors about like Schumacher meeting with both Alpine and Cadillac and being in the talks for it. And I'm sure every driver that's on the market that's available is exploring all their options, as they should. But it does bum me out what's happening with Alpine, because I was so excited for them at the beginning of the season. I was really excited for Pierre. I feel like Pierre and Alex Albon are 2 drivers that had that second seat Red Bull curse, that have just experienced that. And I believe they're good drivers, and I believe they're capable, and I want to see them succeeding and thriving. We're seeing that happen with Williams, with Alex right now, and I thought we were going to get to see it with Pierre, with Alpine this year. And then I think the dominoes just started falling, and then it was the Ollie Oaks thing, the Jack Doohan thing, and then now Flavio's in, and now we've got Franco Colapinto in there, and there was such hype around Franco Colapinto, but it's like, hey, we maybe are only going to give him 5 races to deliver, and then after that we might go back to the roster. So I would hope that every driver would kind of like use a little common sense in like what the market has been with Alpine this year, and say, what's going to be best for my full long-term career.
I think in the grand scheme of things, the season is still relatively young, and there's still so much racing left to do. Hopefully they can get their stuff figured out. If we're still having these conversations on the summer break, then it might be a little tougher, but there's still plenty of racing left to do, and I think we saw it last year with McLaren. One good weekend can change the trajectory of the rest of the year. So I guess if you're an Alpine fan out there, all you can do is stay hopeful that something will happen.
My family always uses the quote, "Hope springs eternal." And you know what? if you're a ride or die Alpine fan, it really must.
Listen, if you're a ride or die Alpine fan, good for you, because it's been a tough few years for you.
Yeah, you've been a brave soul if you've been willing to stick it out for that long without jumping ship.
Brave
So,
Alpine soldier.
okay, we commend you guys if you are actually repping the pink teams.
It's almost like being a Cubs fan in baseball pre-2016.
Well, so we'll get back to Canada, the race itself. It is going to be a good race, like Meredith said. We've got rain in the forecast. It's Canada, so there's usually rain somewhere in the forecast, and never know what little spring showers could pop up and, you know, really change the whole race or the whole qualifying session or really whatever we're in. It's hard to believe it. This is already the 10th round that we're in. We're already in the 10th race of the season, so we're damn near halfway. We're pushing up to the summer break. So it's hard to believe that we're already halfway through this thing. I think Canada's interesting. It's one of the few on the calendar that's a mix between a regular circuit and a street circuit. It's kind of semi-permanent. Like, there's parts of it that are there all the time, but there's parts of it they build up. And it's on an island, which is different. I do like that it is a little bit longer of a race, so there's a little bit more strategy options. It's 70 laps, so definitely some potentials for, you know, some 3-stop options in there. We could see what Red Bull did last time with Max pushing for that 3-stop to try to really encourage some different strategy changes and really kind of put the pressure on McLaren to make sure they are committed to what they're doing. Have you guys seen what they've started doing the last couple of years with the Wall of Champions, by putting the Wall of Champions on the wall itself? Have you guys seen that?
No.
Yeah, so it's always kind of a niche thing, but there's, at the end of turn 14, which is the last turn before the pit straight, there is the right-hand wall through the chicane. The right-hand wall is called the Wall of Champions because almost every world champion has hit it at some point in time during a race and knocked themselves out. So it's called the Wall of Champions. But recently, they've been actually writing Wall of Champions on the actual concrete barrier itself. So when you will actually see somebody run into the Wall of Champions. So I'm really curious to see how many rookies we see this weekend that kind of get a lick off of it, because it does tend to be because you're trying to get a very high speed exit coming out of turn 14 to go down the pit straight with the DRS. But you know, if you overcook it a little bit and go a little wide, you're into a concrete wall that is going to mess your day up.
Oh, you
so
already
I'm excited.
know I'm going to be finding that wall on the simulator tonight.
Yeah, everyone finds that wall in the sim. Everybody knows what that wall is. They've hit it, but even if they don't know what it is, they've hit it before. I promise.
Dude, a quick Google search and it's just all these pictures of cars that have just destroyed themselves on that wall. It is crazy.
Yep,
It's going to be chaos. It's like, what does it say about me that I'm hoping that it does rain Sunday too? I'm like, we know we're going to get rain on Saturday for qualifying. We know it's going to be exciting. But like, what does it say about me as a person that I'm like, yeah, I want it to rain Sunday too. I want to see mayhem.
Yes, because that's what we want. It's been pretty boring the last few years. We need pandemonium and carnage.
But like safe. Everybody be safe. Like safe carnage.
Yeah, I want everyone to go home safe to their families. But I still want carnage. I want excitement.
Well, this is a good track to get it. There's a lot of really good opportunities for some carnage. I mean, we're going to talk a little later about one of those drivers that did not have a great time at Canada. With Robert Kubica found a different wall out of the Senna S's going into the big hairpin. He broke like both of his legs and is all jacked up.
Just put me out
7. Yeah, he was like, you can see the pictures of the wreck. You can see like the nose of the car is gone and his feet are just hanging out of it.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a pretty nasty wreck there. So there's some opportunities for some pretty bad ones out there. But, you know, like we've talked about before, with safety is the most important thing going on. But rain always is the great equalizer, and I think as racing fans, that's why we want the rain, right? Is so we can actually see the skill of the drivers kind of more put weight on the race more than just the machinery. So that, you know, rain is great in that aspect, and it gives us an opportunity to see really what the metal of these guys is made of. So could be interesting this weekend.
I think it will be. Earlier, I know, like when we all hopped on, like before, I was just like going back over last year and just kind of like reminiscing on last year's race, and it made me really sad because it was like Danny Ricciardo scored in the points at this race last season. I was like, Danny,
R.I.P.
good. I'm so glad that
Old
he got
Danny
those
Rick.
points, banked those points. You know, one of the last few sets of them.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it yet, but I did see a news article that said that Haas was running a special livery this weekend.
Yes.
Have you guys?
I saw it. It's pretty
Their
cool.
200th race,
Is it?
so they're throwing it back to their first livery they ever did, which was a gray livery.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool livery, too.
I
All right.
like it.
Well, I hadn't looked at it.
I feel like Haas does pretty good liveries, you know, like in terms of like what they do. Like I've been thinking about like their Coda one was amazing. Their Suzuka one this year was amazing. Yeah, I feel like they do good throwbacks, and I feel like they do pretty great liveries overall. But I really do like the gray on there. I think it looks pretty slick.
Is there anybody else we know of that's doing a livery for this weekend?
I haven't
No,
seen any other
that's kind of
ones.
the first one that the only one that I've seen thus far. But it's only Monday.
Canada would be a weird race to do a livery if it wasn't like a benchmark.
Right.
Like it'd be different. Like, you know, Aston Martin could do one because it's Lance's home race, but you know,
If he's gonna even be there, so it'd be
He's
it'd be
here,
awesome
isn't
if they
he?
did. It would be so cool if they did a special livery for his home race and he wasn't in it.
well,
That'd
it's
be
like
awesome.
their F1 stuff online still has Lance in it, and I'm like, it was like getting to Coda last year, and there being Danny Rick all over all the posters already, and I was like, you're literally re-traumatizing me. I'm like, but like this man isn't even racing anymore. And then like they had a whole booth at Coda that was like goodbye letters to Danny Rick. Like there was a whole tent to write Danny goodbye letters. And I was like, oh, so I can't imagine it being like Lance's home race and he's all over all the banners, which are probably already all up. And then it's like, if he isn't racing, it's like, whoopsie. It's like, you're not going to reprint them all.
No,
Picture.
'cause-
I just sent a picture to the group chat so if you can look at it. I'd show it on here, but I don't need us to get in trouble while this podcast just took off.
No, I like it. I think it looks great.
oh, it does look good. I like it when they throw back to kind of like the original looks from teams.
Oh, absolutely. Can we just start a petition that McLaren's got to bring back the Marlboro car for one race and one race?
I would want, to be honest, the car I want from McLaren, I want the silver Vodafone. I want the silver, the silver and red. That's what I want.
Yes. That would be pretty
That's what I
badass.
want.
But I don't know. I think that Marlboro one is just classic.
It is. It definitely
Hey,
is.
I'm just praying they'll bring back the chrome livery for Coda this year because that chrome livery from last year was amazing. So I'm like, I'm not even asking you to go back into the archives. Like, let's just go 1 year back, but let's go full chrome car, full chrome with just an orange McLaren logo.
Hey, I'm here for it. McLaren does have some pretty cool liveries, I will say. They do it right.
So does another team that's got some great liveries that they never really go back to is Williams. Williams has got some great ones in the archive that they never really reference those.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like
hate
I
to.
would like to
Yeah,
see, like, I collect like coffee table books and stuff like that, but they're all so expensive. I'm like, so it's like, you know, you have to like treat yourself to this coffee table book. So I got the Ferrari one that's all the Formula One Ferrari cars. And then for my birthday, my sister got me the McLaren one. And then I was at a store this weekend and they had all these amazing old car books. Some of them were like $120. I'm like, I ain't spending $120 on a book. But I did throw down, it was like $50 on the Porsche 911 one.
That's pretty
That
cool.
one's sick. But I feel like my next one would maybe be a Williams one that has all the Williams F1 cars. I feel like
Yeah.
that one would be a really
They do have some pretty legendary liveries. The team that has some terrible liveries as of recently is Ferrari. Do we think they're going to get their act together this weekend, or is it still going to suck?
in a livery. They ain't doing a livery.
No,
They're
I
going
just
back
meant
to-
in
they're not
general.
doing anything for liveries. No, they're going to be the same as they were last weekend. I think the team that has the best opportunity for a rebound is, as you can see what I'm wearing, Mercedes. Being Canada is a little cooler. It's a little bit cooler environment. That engine does seem to do a little better in the cooler environments. We saw that last season. They're coming off of a pretty terrible weekend and actually a bad couple weekends. So
Like they just want to
I-
act like it didn't happen. They're like,
yeah, I think they just move
let
on
that
and
out.
they just forget it. Yep. So I think if McLaren, or not McLaren, if Mercedes can come out, get some solid points, and kind of move on past some of the if they can even finish the race with both cars, we'll count that as a win at this point. So we'll see. I do
then-
think that they have a good chance of getting points.
so Josh, what are you are in the lead on the leaderboard? So what are your predictions for this weekend? What's your podium prediction and your shocker prediction?
So I got a pretty standard one. It's not too wild. You know, we're coming off of a weekend.
Playing
I think
it safe. We're playing it safe.
we're playing it safe here. I got the lead, so I've got to kind of protect it. So I got to take Oscar number one. Oscar's going to win out. Lando in second, and I'm going to take Max in third. I think that Red Bull's going to do everything they can strategy-wise. No, don't laugh, because I'm sure you did the exact same thing.
I literally did the exact same thing.
Well, I mean, it's not that hard to pick. It's that
I had George, and I said, no, I think we're going Max.
I think with Red Bull's shaped up last weekend, I think they know that they have to do some special strategy options to make this work for the car, and they've realized that, and so they're willing to take some risks. And it almost worked for him last weekend. If it wasn't for a safety car, it would have worked, and Max would have won that race. So And heck, yeah, I think that's actually twice now that Max could have potentially won without a safety car in the last 2 weekends, Monaco as well. So I think that Red Bull's playing the cards that they're dealt at this point, and we're going to just see how it works. I think Max is going to be on the podium. My shocker prediction,
Yeah.
I'm going to take Isaac Hadjar top 10.
Okay.
He's been showing out really well.
You're playing it so safe right now.
Playing it so safe. That's not really a
Hey.
shocker. He's doing great.
You don't think so?
But I like it.
I
No,
think-
it's not a shocker. Isaac's doing great.
I don't know. There's so many teams in that midfield that are like
Yeah.
really shaping up.
I think that's
I mean-
what's been the most exciting because
Yes.
it seems kind of like McLaren is running away with it, but the reality is like the midfield right now is so competitive and it's consistently competitive. Like I'm more excited by the midfield right now than I am by the top couple.
You know what? You want to go? I won't play it safe anymore. I'm gonna pick a different one for my shocker.
Good, because I
Thinking about the
Listen,
midfield.
I played it safe
Thinking
in my
about the midfield.
prediction, so I'm switching it up too. Go for
Here,
it.
I'm gonna go a little different. I think that, and this is gonna be even more of a shocker because we don't even know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take Austin Martin double points.
If you keep calling him Austin
Wow.
Martin,
Wow.
I'm gonna throw
Aston,
my laptop.
Aston Martin.
Okay, I got you down. I actually that crossed my mind. It did. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
it did cross my mind, and I like
Because
it.
I think you've got Fernando, and he's been driving well, and I think the car's been shaping up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get Lance in the car, it's his home race. He's going to want to do well. If you don't have Lance in the car, you got Drugovich in the car, and he just wants to make an impression. So I think there's a
Or
lot of
maybe you got
incentive.
Bottas, and maybe Bottas wants to show what he got because he wants that
Yes,
seat for next
and
year.
he also wants to make an impression and try to put his name back on the list. So I think
With his-
either way, you've got some drivers that want it.
With his five grid penalty
Yeah.
that he still
Yeah,
has,
it's okay.
has to serve.
All
I love
right.
That's
that.
all right.
I love that there's no statute limitations on penalties. Oh, you're gonna come back,
Yeah.
you still gotta serve your 5-point penalty.
Okay, but like I saw
Or
something
5 grid
online
point.
today that was talking about that specifically, and it was like when it happens like that, where it's like drivers that like doesn't affect him, but like yeah, the penalties are the penalties. But they were like, what are they gonna do if Max does get another penalty point and the previous year's world driver champion has to miss a race because of the rules? And I don't remember who it was, but someone said, I firmly believe that there would be a regulation change instead of the previous year's World Driver Championship having to sit a race out. And I was like, yeah, they didn't care when it was K-Mag. K-Mag wasn't fighting for shit. But if it's Max, would that change it?
No,
No.
I think that the FIA would have to double down and just it is the rule. The rule's the rule.
No, I agree. But
If they change the regulation,
I do know. I
That'd
don't
be
know
ter-
exactly when, but upcoming, a couple of those points get off his record. I want to say at the end of June or July, a couple of those points fall off. So if he
Yeah,
can
that
play
we're
it
in that
safe,
12-month window.
if he can play it
Yep.
safe for the next couple of races, he'll be in the clear. But like Josh said, the FIA has to double down. I had a whole rant last year, and I don't know if it was with Josh, but I didn't think the FIA was ever going to suspend a driver. I thought these penalty points were just all there for show, but it went to show that they will suspend you for a race. So you can't play favoritism anymore. I think there's a bunch of people that out there that think that the FIA plays favoritism when it comes to Max and Red Bull. You have to,
I am one.
if he does
I'm
do
one.
something stupid this go around, you have to suspend him. There are just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Do you think that it would still be the same if, let's say, Max was competitive right there and he was up in the, let's say it was Max and Oscar battling it out for 1-2 in the World Driver Championship right now?
no,
Do
I
you
don't
use-
think it changes.
You don't think it changed it? Okay.
No,
No.
I think it has to stay the same. I think you can't go back and change the rules retroactively to benefit one driver. Like that would
Michael
cause
Massey.
an absolute uproar. And I think that the FIA made the rules with the expectation that eventually they would have to enforce them.
I sure
There's a
hope so.
reason that we've been kind of assessing these points as we've been going. I think that there's no choice at this point but to continue the status quo. You know, you've already suspended a driver, and you can't give special treatment to somebody else for it, even if it is Max. Even if it is Max, you got to almost kind of allow it to happen to kind of make the statement, hey, like we're gonna stick by our rules. It almost puts them in a corner where they have to stick to their guns on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So.
But I do look forward to seeing what more of this saga between George and Max this weekend, because everyone in the media is going to be asking that question. It's just going to be nonstop. So I look forward to seeing how this all plays out.
Do we think they ever healed from their incidents last year? You know, like there was that like their incident last year, and then there was like the driver dinner, and they like forced them to like sit by each other or something. It's like
They forced him, but it didn't work because he grabbed a chair and sat on the other side of the table like a child.
exactly. So I'm like maybe maybe there's some unhealed trauma there still.
Listen,
Yeah.
much like Lewis and his engineer have to sit in a sweat lodge together and hash this out, I think Max and George have to sweat it out together, just duke it out. But I'm here for it either way.
I hope it gets worse, to be honest.
I do too, if I'm being honest.
I hope that it gets even worse between the two of them, because I think that one thing that Formula One has not had over the last several years that maybe they had in the 90s for sure, before then absolutely, and then even in the early 2000s and even, we haven't over the last several years had any of those like really fierce driver conflicts, right? Like either on track or off track. Like no one's running down the pit lane trying to go fight the other guy. We need some of that passion back. We need some of that hate and that energy. And I know some other pundits have said that, like David Coulthard has mentioned that before, that these drivers, they're always hanging out together. They're all best friends. There's just no drama. Like in years past, they would never even speak to each other, let alone go hang out. So the kind of some of that, like maybe the competitive drive isn't there when you're racing just your buddies. But maybe if these two just really, really, really hate each other, that would really spice it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
We need a Michael Schumacher level running down the pit lane, just ready to throw hands with somebody. That's what we need again.
Yeah, I want some Nico Rosberg throwing hats with at Lewis and back and forth, and we need some of that action in the cool down room. We need something.
I am tired of these quiet cool down rooms. Like get in there, say what you mean what you say, own it. You don't have to cuss. You don't have to if you're worried about getting a fine. You don't have to cuss, but get in there and own it. Talk about how you feel. You're mad at the other people in that room because like whoever's on that top step, you wanted that to be you. Who's ever on that second step and you're in third, you wanted it to be you. So I do kind of like it. I like that we have something to.
Yeah, and
do you see the relationship? Sorry, Josh. Do you see the relationship between George and Lando ever getting to Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton?
George and Lando?
Yes. No, I meant Oscar and Lando.
Yeah, 100%.
No, because it's not Oscar's style. That's the only reason I say no. If that was somebody else, I would say yes. But I think that Oscar's going to go about his business. He doesn't really care what Lando thinks. He's not going to go outwardly and fight him. He just is. He is what he is.
I don't think they're going to outwardly fight, but I think this mirage that we're all one happy family will crumble.
Yeah, it has to end.
Yes. I agree with that for sure.
At some point, that's coming down. Right now, they are both still very much in it. We are only a couple of points away from each other. We are very much still fighting for the title. That heat is going to just, after the summer break, they're going to turn that gas up a little bit. The further we get into the season, the closer it is, the more they don't have a number one driver, it's gonna get spicy. And that whole facade of we're one happy family, McLaren Racing, yay, look at us, we've got Daddy Zach and we're just two happy sons. No, it's gonna crumble. It's all gonna come to a head at some point. I don't ever see it being like the Nico Rosberg situation. Like I just think it will crumble and it will come out in the media, just maybe not in a physical blow up, yelling, screaming match. But I think they'll both say things. I think Lando's route would probably be a little more outwardly vocal about how he feels and he'll be very self-critical. And then I think Oscar will it is what it is, kind of try to deflect it and be like, yeah, the better man won today. And if it was him, that, he'll be like, yeah, better man won today. Like that's kind of Oscar's style more so. And I think we'll just start to see more of that in the media.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Well, what were you going to say, Josh, before I cut you off?
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually kind of ties back into what I was gonna say is I've got a feeling that we've kind of gotten to the point now in the sport where we've been more focused on social media and image than we have about the competitive nature of the sport itself. And I think that that's something that we're missing is that little edge. We don't need these drivers to be best friends all the time, right? We can enjoy that in the off season and we can enjoy them like, oh yeah, neat that they're hanging out and doing whatever activity together. But like what the sport's built on is these teammate battles and these fierce rivalries between teams and, to the point where it's either on track or off track, these intense battles. You can go back and list them off throughout the decades of drivers and teams that were battling it in and out. I think that we've gotten to the point where it's almost like the drivers are afraid to have those moments and that passion because either they're going to get fined by the FIA, their team is going to get frustrated with them for allowing that to kind of spill out into an open, an open forum. But I think that it's to the point where we almost need some of that. We almost need that we need a flash in the pan that really kick it off between Oscar and Lando and really get to see those two really have a moment. Or either that, or we need another team that is going to be as competitive as McLaren to really start pushing the boundaries. Like if Ferrari was to all of a sudden show up and be really good, if they could push that boundary and really force McLaren into a tough situation where they've got two drivers that are really good and they're trying to share points, but the points are getting stolen by another team as well. We need just some little aspect of the competitive nature to come back. And I want these drivers not to be afraid to speak their mind, even if it has to be in a clean way. If they can be allowed to speak their mind and say what they want to say without recourse, I think we could have a little bit more, even good drama, not necessarily bad drama. Like every other sport has this aspect, right? You know, you look at basketball players are in the interviews talking trash about other players all constantly. Football's the same way, you know. It's soccer teams in Europe traditionally have fierce rivalries with other teams where it's you know, to the point where the fans are fighting in the stands and on the streets around it, you know, over these games. And I don't know why Formula One's decided that they have to be all cuddly and kid friendly when we could get some really good competitive words without having, you know, worry about drivers cursing or whatever else might be. So I don't know what you guys think of that, but
I mean, we saw
that's what I'm missing.
We saw it in hockey this last year during the All-Star break. They did that Four Nations League, and you know, they put that the colors of their country on their back. They'll throw hands with just about anybody. And yeah, we might be friends outside of this, but when that puck drops, I will throw hands and beat the living bricks off of you. And we saw
That's why
it.
we love hockey.
I mean,
yeah,
who doesn't?
That's
That's
great.
exactly why. You know, hockey's just so great in that sense. And some of these guys were injured for the rest of the season, but that pride to do good for your country. I mean, you saw that U.S. and Canada game, what, 3-4 fights within the first minute?
Mm-hmm.
We need that in sports.
I wonder if it has to do with like sponsorships and contracts. Like I wonder
I'm
if
sure.
there's something about media with the sponsorships, because there's so many more sponsors now. You know, those Formula One cars are essentially real estate for sponsorship stickers and race suits and everything. It's like, you know, like Paul, I know you're making the joke about like Ferrari liveries and stuff like that, but like reality is real estate is sponsorship to them. And I wonder what terminology they have about like the image as a team, as a partnership with each other. It does make me wonder like what's in the background of like the contract negotiations of sponsorships or things like that, to where, because y'all are right, the social media plays an aspect into it, but we are absolute idiots. This is a money sport if we don't think that there's not a financial aspect and incentive for these drivers to put on the one happy family image out front.
And this could be another long-form podcast that we could do, but I think as the years go on, social media and the image has changed dramatically. I mean, look at F1 in the 90s. Every cigarette brand had their name on a car before, you know, Camel, Marlboro are the big ones, and now it's like we can't do any of that. Even alcohol. What is that Italian beer? It's got to be 0.0.
Peroni.
So no
Peroni
alcohol.
0.0.
It's like we've completely
There's
changed.
several.
We want to do this clean cut. Everyone is kumbaya holding hands. So I think that has taken a little bit of the personality away from the sport.
I mean, I'm a woman and I want them to bring back the grid girls. Iconic.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and I read this whole article from a woman who used to be one of the grid girls, and she talked about like how important it was for the sport and to have like women in the sport. And I know that that's not the narrative we want to paint of like that's the role women should play in this sport, but like it was such a source of entertainment. It's like even like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders being at Circuit of the Americas every year. Doesn't matter what age, gender, whatever you are, you're excited to see the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader down on that track at turn 15 at breaks, you know, in between. Every fan is excited to see them. It's legendary. So it's kind of one of those things that's like, there are things like that that can be wholesome and exciting that everybody's pumped about, that doesn't have to be risque, you know?
And I think we've seen it in 2025. A woman can, whatever niche she wants to be a part of. If you want to be an engineer and talk of that, there's plenty of
100%.
smart women that are doing that. If you want to be a presenter, look at F1 TV. Laura Winters is doing that. And if you just want to be a good-looking girl that wants to be a grid girl, you can do that too. But it's just we're trying to pigeonhole women into this one spot. It's just there can be an avenue for everyone to do whatever they want.
Look at us getting in a rabbit hole.
Gotta love it.
Okay, Paul, we got to come back to you. Your podium was the same prediction as Josh, Oscar, Lando, Max, but you never told us what your shocker prediction is.
I think I'm gonna go. This team is gonna redeem themselves. Williams double points.
Look at that. Why don't you just did you write your apology letter to James last week?
I'm working on it right now.
Now
It's
that you're going
it
back
currently
on
has
that?
2 frowny faces on it, so he knows I'm serious.
Just like, I'm sorry. I do like that. I would love for that shocker to be true. I actually, I'm a little different. I agree. I think Oscar's taken this race, but I put George in second. Something
I'm
is
not mad
telling
about
me,
it.
something is telling me that we talked about how many times he like got on podium by accident, right? Like at the beginning part of the season, like how many times is George going to sneak onto the podium? I think he's done sneaking if they can get their, what's figured out or whatever was causing these issues these last few races. If they got that figured out in this little short break, and if they do well, like you said, it's a cooler climate. Mercedes typically drives a little bit wetter in that cooler climate. So I am optimistic for the return of the dark horse. So I've got Oscar, George, and I've got Charles. I'm hoping he found something in this last race, and I'm hoping that it can hold steady for this race. For some reason, something in my soul does not think Red Bull is going to have a good weekend. My shocker prediction is that we are going to have a Red Bull family DNF. Like, whether it's Red Bull or V-Carb, we are having a Red Bull family DNF.
So all of the drivers are going to DNF?
No. Just like something in the family is happening. One of the four will not finish this race.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Not all four. Wow, that would be.
I was going to say, wow, that was like a full failure of the whole.
Like, why don't you just play Russian roulette just yourself at a table, Meredith? Yeah, no, I think one of the full Red Bull family will DNF. That's my shocker.
All right.
But I'm just excited for some good racing.
Yeah, I think this track has proven that there's some good racing going to happen, and
yeah,
I can't wait for Sunday.
I was going to mention my favorite overtake of last year was at Canada, and it was Alex Albon's double overtake into the final chicane in turns 13 and 14. So that was I was shocked that was not the overtake of the year that didn't win the award. I thought that was a robbery. I thought that Alex deserved that from that overtake. So
I also just want to say that it was robbery that you didn't just give us the chicane hand motion that you did earlier.
Chicane.
The chicane.
So anything else with Canada? We got the predictions down. Anything else with Canada that we needed to discuss before we move on to the other, arguably more important event of the weekend?
Nope.
I'm just glad F1's back.
I know, I am too. It was a long weekend without watching little cars and little guys go in circles.
Yeah, all the girls
Really
on this
enjoy
Bachelorette
that.
trip were like, what F1 racing are you missing this weekend? And I was like, oh, I'm not. And it's like,
yeah, like
I'm not.
unfortunately, there's
I'd be
nothing.
on my phone at the wineries watching qualifying.
Like, thanks for the reminder that I have nothing to do right now. So
That's the only reason I'm here.
yeah, the only reason I came on this trip is because I didn't have anything to watch at home. Well, Meredith, as our resident endurance racing aficionado, would you like to kind of give us the rundown for the weekend's entertainment?
Yeah, I don't know if I've told you guys before. I think I probably have. Like, I try to pick like one form of racing a year to like learn a little bit more about. And 2024 was me learning about endurance racing. And Le Mans for me was one of those where I was like, 24 hours, holy shit, no way, you won't ever catch me watching racing for 24 hours, and you won't. Let me start off by saying, you won't catch me watching 24 hours of anything, ever. I believe in shift work. I believe in this is just like endurance training for running and training for a marathon. You don't just go out the day of the race and run a marathon. Some people do. I don't advise it. So I kind of tried to adopt that same approach with endurance racing. I just tried to start to watch snippets of it here and there, whether it was IMSA or WEC. I really love WEC, but then they also have the ELMS, the European Le Mans Series. And I think there was a quote that I wrote down that is the thing that made me pick it last year. And I don't even know who the quote was. It said, "This is the most thrilling 24 hours in motorsports." And I was like, what an iconic quote. And, I'd always heard F1 drivers talk about how eventually they all want to drive in Le Mans. And I was like, well, I don't even know what that is. So last year was my first year watching it. It was my first year learning about it. And I really tried to learn about like the history of it all. Grand Prix racing got really big in the 20s. And so like early on in the 20s, Grand Prix racing was really the only style. And it was a spectator sport to really just see these cars go around tracks, right? And people could watch in the bleachers. And so that was what was huge. But in 1923, which was the first Le Mans, they wanted to set a track that was not just focused on, a set number of laps, but was really more based in this endurance type racing where it was about agility and speed, but also about the manufacturing and actual craft of the car. Manufacturers being able to design a vehicle that could last for 24 hours. So early on, it's based in France, and early on it was kind of like a Frenchman. They all dominated. It was mostly dominated by French drivers because that was where they were from. They had the access to it, and it was one of the longest tracks at the beginning. It was actually 8.467 miles, which was amongst the longest track, like right when it started. And then it was like everything was picking up steam. They were rolling. Everybody was really loving it. You know, they have the different types in there, but when World War II hit, they had to take a hiatus, which I had no idea about, because like I'd always heard Le Mans like around since 1923. Well, my brain did not even think about the suspension. So there was over like a 10-year suspension right after World War II where they could not hold the race. Like there was a pause from some strikes that happened in France in 1936. Then World War II happened. And because of that, they could not do it. But then when it picked back up in 1949, they had 100 entries. So for those of you that are Formula One people, imagine 100 teams applying for a Formula One grid race. So I just think it's phenomenal. The way these teams are structured is that each car has 3 drivers that drive in shifts, but your shifts can be like you cannot drive for more than 14 hours total. So even if a driver was like good and they're like, I'm good to keep going, if they hit a 14-hour, like that's it, like total 14 hours drive time combined. So they've got these 3 drivers, but depending on the category you're in, the teams back in the garage could be like up to 90 people that are engineers and mechanics, all the way down to like maybe some of the lower level like injury teams are like 25 people, and you've got 4 people that are a pit crew doing it all. But Paul had sent us a really cool video about just like a fun fact. These drivers, when they are out on the track, they are the only people allowed to touch the car. They have to carry like the toolkit with them. They have their radio system on them, but they also have a walkie-talkie and like an old school flip phone to be able to call into their team if they were to get stranded, to be able to communicate, to try to be able to fix this stuff. But the circuit has been modified over time. Obviously, the cars have become much more quick. There are a lot more safety incidences. In 1955, there's the worst motorsports accident in history. There was a driver coming up behind a driver. Something happened with his car. The driver tried to move to the left. There was another person coming to pass on the left. His name was Pierre. I don't know his last name. Pierre Levey. And he tried to go and pass, but the person moved over, took out the car, killed the driver. But the wreck was so bad, the debris from the car exploded. The power unit went into the crowd. It killed 82 people total. So because of situations like that and so many other crashes that were really, really bad, they've really tried to modify this. And Josh, it's almost like we have a theme. Just like it's like parts of the Montreal track for Canada, some of it is a set track and some of it is an add-on built whatever. Same thing with this track. So for the circuit for the 24-hour of Le Mans, it is mostly a set track, but there are parts of the track that are actually drivable roads at other parts of the year that they just like block off for the race. So it is mostly a set track in France with partially open. You see a lot of teams that kind of have like a huge history there. Like we know Ferrari has done well in endurance racing. A lot of stuff with Aston Martin, Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar. So yeah, really in the 2000s, the 2 big names in the 24-hour of Le Mans are Cadillac and Audi. And then lately we see a lot more teams that are emerging and coming back into it and doing really well. I struggle to follow all the categories. You know, you've got hypercars that are on there. You've got the LMG. It's like the total, so many letters and numbers. It's like you've got the LMPs, which are the prototypes. And then you've got the LMGTEs, which are the other. So it's like you said, it's really overwhelming to try to figure it out. So my advice, which is what I followed for myself last year, Google all the drivers, all the teams, and just kind of like pick a car, and I say pick a number of a car you want to follow, and then just know who their drivers are and kind of like what the stint schedule is going to be. Like I always know I'm watching the Ferrari AF Course 50 and 51 car. I always know I'm watching the 35 and 36 Alpine car. I always know I'm watching the number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing. So rather than trying to like learn it all, pick maybe a few teams or cars you want to watch and root for, and then just go for it and take it off in bite-sized snippets. But this year's going to be really exciting. I'm obviously pumped. There's going to be 5 women that are driving in it, which is such a cool thing, you know, really showing that women are doing great things in motorsports too. So I'll be rooting for my Iron Dames for sure.
And
but yeah, I I'm really excited for this year. I think it's going to be really good. It's a really competitive season. This is like right in the smack dab middle of the WEC season, and it's been really competitive so far. So Toyota's looking really good, Alpine's looking really good, Ferrari's looking good on the hypercar side.
And that Iron Dame team, their social media presence has been incredible. That livery's pretty badass. I really like that team. For those of you that are, you still have a few days. We're 4 days away from the event. On Prime, Ford versus Ferrari is a great movie. It kind of gives you a little snippet of what it used to be. This race was a form of pride for these automakers. Like anyone
100%.
who is anyone has put a car in Le Mans, and it was bragging rights for the entire year. I mean, Ford, Ferrari, we've seen it time and time again. Even Mercedes. So the history alone on this track is incredible, and it's that balance. Do you go for the fastest car, or do you go for the car that's with the engine that's going to last a while? It's 24 hours, and there's so much. It's a big game of chess, and it's carnage, it's pandemonium, and it's been fun learning about it.
The amount of DNFs last year was insane. I mean, you've got so many entries, like it's natural, it's going to happen, but I was like, my gosh, the amount of DNFs last year, like I was shocked. I was absolutely floored.
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult part of the whole thing. It's like, you know, not only are you dealing with like the human willpower to race for, you know, very, very long stints. You know, I know you have 3 drivers and you get to change them out and everything, but you know, it is a very long time to be in a car and perform at that level and focus and you know, in the middle of the night and in all weather conditions and everything else. So between the human factor and the mechanical factor, where, you know, all this time has been spent engineering these cars in a way that they can last at that level with that many RPMs for this and that many miles for that long, is an incredible feat in itself. And it is really just a battle of, you know, and obviously, as the name suggests, endurance, but it's just a battle of attrition almost more than it is a battle on the track.
100%. I mean, like, and like, I think anybody can relate to, like, if you've driven on a road trip anywhere, you know, a couple hours in, you're like, my God, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Imagine that at top speed in a multi-million-dollar car that, you know, you're in it for hours and hours driving top speed in any set of conditions, whatever it throws at you, and it's just you and your thoughts, and you have to be dialed in and delivered because you are fighting for the win. I'm like, I could barely drive home the 4 hours from Fredericksburg, Texas the other day without my audiobook, my Diet Coke, my snacks, you know.
And here's another little bit. The NASCAR. You guys remember that NASCAR had a car in Le Mans a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Their documentary actually comes out on Prime Video on June 12th.
I'm very excited for it.
It's,
I cannot wait. It's like perfect timing because it's coming out to like get everybody hyped up.
absolutely. And that's kind of how I got into Le Mans. I had
Really?
heard about the car, and that was such a badass car because it was so... The best part about that for me was it was so American going through a French circuit, because that car was the loudest, just most American car, and that was so badass to just hear that thing go just screaming down that track. So that the documentary comes out this Thursday, and that was some pretty cool. I really hope that we get a chance to see that car one more time somewhere out there, because yeah, people need to hear that car go down the road.
So one thing I noticed, like I think from last year, and maybe it comes up like around this time every year, but social media will start, like, you know, TikTok will start picking up on like, okay, well, what is Le Mans? It's kind of popping off. So in years past, there has been little videos posted of like what a car looks like prior to the race start, and then like post race start, and it looks just like something apocalyptic. The car, it's destroyed. It's destroyed. And not even in a way that's like, oh, they hit a wall. In a way, it's like, okay, this is 24 hours of racing at 200 miles an hour where they've been hitting rocks and bugs and every piece of debris on the road, and it's all scarred up, and there's no paint left, and it looks like you've burnt half of it, and it looks like the other half has just been, you know, dragged along concrete and asphalt for what is 24 hours. So that's always really, really neat for me to look at these cars and just really think about, like, you know, 24 hours is a very long time to put these cars to this test, and they get beat up. It's so cool to see.
The Ferrari car starts out Ferrari red and ends in just black. I mean, it is crazy.
They're just...
By the way, that documentary is called American Thunder, NASCAR to Le Mans. Comes out June 12th. This is all about the Chevrolet Camaro and the Garage 56 car. I definitely recommend people go and watch it. The history behind that car, the ingenuity that went behind it. I mean, it was incredible to learn about it a few years ago.
If you're also like, okay, well, I want to like learn like a little bit more about like endurance racing in general, like the FIA WEC TikTok and Instagram social media, she does a phenomenal job of like giving the rundown of the race, the format, the different classes, like, and just kind of the way that they structure their social media is really educational, and I really enjoy it. Obviously, they post amazing racing content throughout the weekend, but the FIA WEC social media channels are phenomenal for learning, and they just do an incredible job on there. But if you're wondering like, where would I even watch this, like I don't even know, it does stream on HBO Max, so all the WEC races stream on HBO Max, but they also do have like a full service like 24-hour of Le Mans streaming package for the entire weekend. If you don't have Max, I think it's like $16 or $17 for the full weekend package of all of everything, the whole setup of like the pre-race, everything. It's just like, that's not that much. That's like the same price of like HBO Max. So yeah, those are the two places I would recommend watching it, is getting the streaming package for all those events, or go on HBO Max, which is where I watch all of my WEC racing. And it's just really nice because you can watch it, do your little stint, move around the house, do your chores, come back down, go grab a beer, take a nap, sleep, wake up. You've got a lot of options.
Also, if you stream like YouTube TV, which I do, it'll also be played on Motor Trend. It's a channel on YouTube
nice.
TV, and they play the entire 24 hours without a stop. For those old school people that got into cars watching Top Gear with Jeremy and all those, Jeremy Clarkson and them, they also had a great snippet of Le Mans, which great history, and they talk a lot about it if you want to go on YouTube and try to find that. Yeah, there's so much history, and we can talk hours about this stuff. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and if you're like me, who I've been more Formula One oriented forever, and I'm trying to kind of branch out into endurance, I kind of base everything off of Formula One. So I was been researching who's former Formula One drivers that are now going to be racing in this weekend's Le Mans. So if you're like me, there's 19 former Formula One drivers, including many names you would know that are racing in other categories. Obviously, like Mick Schumacher's the obvious choice, but then you've got like Jenson Button, former F1 world champion. So I mean, there's plenty of choices for people in all the different categories to go find you a Formula One driver and root for them for the 24 hours, or you can just pick a manufacturer that you like and go that route as well. You've got your Ferraris, Alpines, you've got a Toyota, and you've got quite a few of the Formula One legacy teams that are performing and racing in this event. So, do whatever you can to kind of compartmentalize it enough to make it digestible for you. That's what I'll be doing. So I'm excited for this weekend. I'll be tuning in on HBO Max to watch as much of it as I can. So yeah, I am excited to watch it. Yeah, exactly.
And there's a little bit of everything for everyone out there. I mean, anything. I mean, like you said, cars, engineering, drivers, anything that you're into. I think this is what makes this race so beautiful. It said it has a little bit for everyone.
Agreed. I think it was also cool to just see, like I know we've talked about it, is like Max has wanted to change his contract to allow him to race in other series, and specifically endurance racing. He has notably mentioned that he wants to participate in endurance racing and drive and compete in Le Mans eventually. Charles Leclerc this week said, I for sure see myself in Le Mans at some point. And so we know that this is a very intense drive. Obviously it's the same weekend as Canadian Grand Prix, but like in the future, like this is like a lot of them talk about Le Mans is the 24-hour Le Mans is the purest form of racing. That's all there is. It's you and your car flat out for a long stint. So I think it is really cool. And if it's something that you like and you get interested in, like the WEC series is really, really great. The races are super accessible. And unlike going to like a Formula One race, the accessibility you have to those garages, to the cars, to the drivers. I mean, like I went to the Lone Star Le Mans last year, and, my little Texas learning self was calling it the Lone Star Le Mans. I was going to the Le Mans race, but like I got to meet the Ferrari teams, walked out and saw Nick DeVries and panicked and shouted howdy at him. They're right there. 4 feet from them. Like I ran off, never went back and got a picture with him because I was so embarrassed. I was like, I was not prepared for him to be the first person. But like it's like I got to meet both of the Ferrari teams, the ones that won last year, like the 50 car won last year. Nick DeVries Toyota Gazoo Racing got second last year. The Ferrari number 51 car got third last year on the hypercar side of it. And it was just, I was so excited because then I got to go meet them at these events. They open it up. All the cars are on the track. You get to walk out, see the cars. You get to look into the garages. You get to take pictures with the drivers. So there's a lot more accessibility in this type of racing than there is in like Formula One. So if it's something you like that piques your interest after this weekend, definitely check out the World Endurance Championship in general, because the races are super affordable and there's a lot more accessibility, and a lot of them are at the tracks that Formula One tracks are at. So maybe you're like, dang, those F1 races are expensive. I assure you the endurance racing is less expensive and it's a lot of the same track. So just wanted to throw that in because I had a phenomenal experience.
So who are you going to be rooting for this go around, Meredith?
I Ferrari hypercar girl, so the Ferrari AF, the number 50, the number 51. Got to root for my boy Nick and the number 7 Toyota Gazoo. But I love the Alpine endurance team too. So the 35, the 36, big fans of them. Those are kind of like I follow the Ferraris, the Alpines, the Toyota Gazoo Racing. I'll be rooting for the Iron Dames as well, always rooting for them. And then if there are any other surprise ones, like Josh mentioned that list, I definitely want to look up some of the other ones and see who they're driving for and then pull for them too.
Yeah, I would agree. The hypercar, the Ferrari car. I love that Antonio Giovinazzi has rejuvenized his career. Yes. He had a pretty awful time in F1, so I love that he's been able to, like I said, rejuvenise his career and win and do so well. Max Schumacher is another great car, and naturally just the Iron Dame car. I really want to see how they perform this year. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm going to be much more hyper-focused on the hypercar to see how they all do this year. Josh, have you picked anything, or are you still kind of seeing what's out there?
No, I'm going to definitely kind of see what's out there. I got to kind of go through the categories and see where the drivers are and see where I really want to spend my time focused. But I'm drawn to the hypercars. I think that's obviously that's the highest level of racing inside of what WEC itself. That's what I'm drawn towards. So I love the idea of Ferrari and Alpine and as Toyota as well, because I would love to see Toyota make a comeback in Formula One. So I think I'm probably on board with you guys, and that's going to be the three that I'm closely paying attention to. And I may pick out a driver here and there like Jensen. I'll probably follow Jensen's progress as well. So
can I make a plug for K-Mag in the BMW hypercar?
Oh yeah,
because
and K-Mag.
I gotta tell you, that BMW hypercar looks the coolest of all of them. Like, it's a spaceship. I want a board. I'm on board with it. But K-Mag and BMW, they've been doing pretty good with endurance racing, and especially in some of like I was watching some of the earlier in the beginning of the season endurance racing, and I was really shocked, and I was like, get in K-Mag, hell yeah. So the BMW one is a very identifiable, so it's an easy one to follow on the track, and they've been doing good too. So I wanted to plug that one in there.
So a lot of really good, exciting stuff this weekend, obviously. Yeah, I'm excited for the endurance race stuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's
sorry,
cool looking.
To cut you off,
no,
Josh,
you're fine. It's a cool looking car.
I literally just was looking at it. That BMW looks pretty badass.
It is sick. Like, when I was walking down and like walking all the garages to look at all the cars last year, I passed that BMW one and I was like, I'm in love with a BMW.
So Kevin Magnussen is in the BMW 50. That's pretty cool looking. All right, cool. All right, sorry, Josh. I did not mean to cut you off. I just got excited.
No, you're fine. Do you guys have any last comments about WEC before we move on? The Le Mans?
No, just
super pumped for this documentary.
You don't have to do it all at once. Just snippets, bite sizes. Enjoy it for what it is.
And also, there's a lot of content creators on TikTok that do recaps. The 6-hour mark, there's this recap, and 12-hour mark. So even if you don't want to sit and watch it, just go on TikTok and try to find those content creators.
Your girl Meredith will be posting them from the Apex F1 podcast.
Perfect, yeah.
Perfect.
This weekend, we are the Apex F1 podcast and the 24-hour Le Mans. So
yeah, perfect.
Your girl will be posting the updates for us.
Follow along with us.
Yep.
We'll be making posts, and I really can't urge people enough to get into it, learn about it, and it's motorsports. It's so much freaking fun.
Yeah, I think this is considered one of the Triple Crown, correct? Is that right?
Yep.
This is, it's Indy 500, Monaco,
24-hour Le Mans.
Yep. So that, you know, we've already had 2 of them, so this is the 3rd of the Triple Crown. So enjoy it, because we won't get to see another one until next year. So jump in while you can. Get to experience it now while it's on. It's a great weekend for it. So I will be right alongside with you and watching as much of it as I can. So I'm excited. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we wrap this?
No, I think we got it all.
Let's wrap this one up.
All right. Well, once again, guys, we appreciate you jumping on here with us and listening and hanging out for a little while. We're on YouTube now. Please get on there and subscribe. Boost our numbers up. We like numbers. We like data. We like numbers. So just, you know, hit the like button.
Bunch of nerds.
Subscribe there. Yeah, we're a bunch of nerds when it comes to this, and it's going to get worse. Hit the like button. Subscribe to it. Follow the social medias. We're on every one of them. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter and X. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on the Apple Podcast. Wherever you want to get your content, please get on there, like us, subscribe to us. Do it. We promise we're going to be as good as we can about getting stuff out there that you guys will enjoy. We're taking comments and suggestions. Reach out to us. We're accessible. I'll respond to y'all. I'm sure Meredith and Paul will as well. Jump on there, interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. You know, we're going to come back next week with updates from all of course, Canada and 24-hour, and looking forward to these next couple Formula One races as well, because we've got some good ones on the calendar coming up. So, you know, we've got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. We hope you guys stick around and enjoy it with us. Really been enjoying it so far, so we're just going to keep the train rolling. So, you guys have any last comments?
No, we did it all. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week, and we'll be talking to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.